Hi there, I'm Chidi.
And Victor.
Thank you for joining us on this series, which we have tagged Down the Aisle series. We have decided to take questions from persons in our private group and discuss them on this platform for the benefit of more people. And today we'll be considering family interference in marital decisions.
Right? In order to be able to dive into this, we'll be looking at how much is too much. All right. When people get into your space, you're trying to decide, all right, how much is too much in terms of people interfering. Then we're also going to be looking at navigating difficult families. All right. There are challenges that we would sometimes experience when we're trying to get into that spouse's family. How do you navigate this and how do you come out on top? All right, and finally, we'll be looking at who should call the intruder to order?
I like that one.
Who should call the intruder to order? And so we'll be looking at this and taking it further.
Okay, our mission is to raise prototype romantic and intimate couples across the globe. And we do this through speaking engagements, seminars, workshops, coaching sessions, counseling sessions, retreats, our books, which you can find on our website at www.foundationforfamilyaffairs.org. We have a lot of resources there, so please make do. Get on there.
Okay, so let's dive straight into it. The introduction. What is family interference?
Well, what is interference?
Okay, let's start from there.
I got the dictionary definition of that, and it's to interfere means to intervene in a situation without invitation or necessity.
Important.
I like those two words. Invitation or necessity. So the question is it necessary? Or have you been invited?
Absolutely. All right, so we want to look at a few case studies. So someone comes to you, for example, this person has been in a relationship, in and out of relationship, and then it comes to that point where she finally says, you know what, I like to settle down with this person. And then all of a sudden, everyone is saying, no, you can't marry him. Oh, you can't marry him for this. It's not that. It's not this. Or you find yourself in a situation where, as a guy, you've been with this lady 4 years, 5 years. Now you're trying to marry her, and your people are saying, no, you can't marry her. And you're wondering,
where were you all along?
You're wondering, now that I finally decided to settle down with this person, and everyone is coming up with different reasons. Why didn't you tell me all along so that I can more like find a way to probably let her go instead of just wasting her time all these years?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How will the lady feel about that if something like that happens? All right. So that's one of the things we'll be looking at.
So how much is too much? We've tried to look at interference in two ways. The fact that it could be beneficial to the relationship.
Absolutely.
Like you were saying, they just jump in at a point where it's like, come on, it's been many years. How come you didn't say this at the start?
Yes.
But the truth about it in some cases is that at such moments, you need to pause and probably consider what is being flagged up.
Absolutely.
It might just be a blind spot, which you need to pay attention to.
Yes.
And then the other bit is that it could be harmful. And that's when people become unreasonable to take things to the other extreme.
Okay. So what we're saying is that interference can be both beneficial and harmful.
Yeah.
Beneficial in the sense that there may be something that you are not conscious of.
Yes.
Like she said, in your blind spot. There may be, so for example, someone may ask you, a friend of yours may come to you, have you considered this guy? Do you know that this guy had gone through bankruptcy? They may bring up something that you may want to consider. That's, because there's something, research shows that once we're in love,
Yes.
we don't see fault in the other person. So sometimes you might need a friend who got your back. You might need someone who got your back who can say, you know what, I'm sorry for bugging in. I don't mean to be the devil advocate here, but I think you should think carefully about this particular aspect of this person, because it's good when you're going into a relationship. Go into a relationship with an informed decision, making informed decision, all right, not just based on our own emotions. And then it can be harmful when someone just, sit there and say, you know what, over my dead body, you're not going to marry this person, and you're trying to find out why, and they can't come up with very strong reasons.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
You know. So now let's look at some of the triggers of relationship of
Well,
interference.
yes. The first one we would like to consider is race. Now, a typical example would be you find a Caucasian who gets into a relationship, a family member suddenly with gets into a relationship with probably an African or an Asian. Family members suddenly start asking you, "Oh, don't you think he or she is with you because of settlement or for citizenship?" You know, things like that, and those could be triggers and very worrisome.
Sometimes it's about tribe, where people look at, oh, you can't marry from that tribe, or maybe, and then when you probe further, you may find out that the reason why they're saying that is maybe somebody from that tribe did something that hurt them some years ago, or somebody that they loved was hurt by somebody from that tribe, and based on that, you can say, you know what, nobody that I love, nobody I know going to marry from this tribe, and that can be a trigger for interference.
Yes, true. Another one is social status. You find people who decide, okay, the way we're stratified, upper class, middle class, lower class. No, I can't marry someone from the lower class. It's not befitting of someone of my status. And this just reminds me of the discussion I had with a group of ladies at some point. And I realized in that discussion, an African lady, the question was, would you be happy to marry a mechanic? And an African lady there was like, no, why would I do that? He's not in my class, doesn't belong to my class. And a Caucasian lady there was like, she was really upset. Why would you say that? He's a human being. And by the way, mechanics make a lot of money. So as I began to think about it, I realized that sometimes when you find people from a developing part of a developing nation, because of cultural differences and all, and the way we've just been raised, and we tend to classify people, and which wouldn't matter in some parts of the Western countries.
All right, so sometimes this happens based on how a country or society classifies some specific jobs. They think this job is for lower class, this job is for higher class. So, for example, medical doctors, oh, top class. Lawyers, top class. Oh, business consultants, top class. And unconsciously, people begin to more like are trying to avoid people that work within a certain class because they associate them with a certain class. So that may be one of the reasons why some people may say, you know what, can begin to interfere in a relationship.
So that's for
you not going to marry
social status.
For the social status.
And it could be academic,
as
where
well.
some feel I'm more educated. But if you look at things in the Western world, what you find is that there's a certain level of exposure.
Absolutely.
Everyone has basic primary and secondary education. And after that, some decide to go to uni, some don't. Some decide to go after a vocation, which would be classed as informal education, still education though. So it's just how it works in different societies.
Absolutely.
But these things are triggers.
Another thing that somebody else may flag up, people who will be intruding into relationship might be financial capacity. They may be wondering, does this guy, can he look after you? Or is this lady a gold digger? This is some of the things that may be bringing in or creating a platform for people to interfere. All right. So that's it. And then the next one is presentation. How are you presenting your spouse to be? We found out that, we've had a discussion with a number of people. We found out that how people present their spouses to their friends, to their families, determines how they relate with them. So if you present your spouse as someone who is struggling, who has not been able to, who has not been able to hold a job down for a it doesn't mean that you should lie about it, but look for something good about your spouse to present. No human being has 100% negative attributes. Find positive attributes to talk about. All right. So because how you present them will determine how they will receive your spouse to be.
Yeah, so when you don't sound convincing about this person, you raise doubts, you raise concerns, and those could be triggers.
In fact, I remember an example that I like to share here. There was a job I applied for, I think about 15 years ago or thereabout, and then the panel asked me a question. They said, after I've answered all the other questions, they asked me, so what is your greatest weakness? It took me a while. I thought about it. How should I answer? And then, if I say my greatest weakness is blah, 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 that can count against me. If I say I don't have weaknesses, that will count against me because it will be like, everyone has weaknesses. So what I said is that, you know what? I'm a goal-getter. And anytime I'm not accomplishing my goal, I can become very restless. And that makes me to want to drive myself to be able to achieve the goal. In other words, I push myself beyond too hard. All right. So I presented something that appeared negative, but I turned it around in a positive light. All right. Because that job was about selling and it's about getting results done. So that is one way where you can present your spouse. So it doesn't have to be all negative. You can present something that looks negative, but you can turn it around in a positive light. I hope that helps.
Okay, navigating difficult families. Let's say difficult families in quotes. So the first thing we would suggest is understand that different families have their preferences.
Absolutely.
Okay, and when we talk about family culture, there are just things that certain families like that your family may not appreciate.
Absolutely.
You come to some families, they're big on education, or what's the level of his or her education, and for your family that may not matter.
Exactly.
So it's not for you to discount that. But what we tend to say is, for the person who is bringing the potential spouse to meet his or her family, it is your responsibility to talk your potential spouse through what's obtainable in your family.
Absolutely. That's very important because some families, for example, have preferences when it comes to religion.
Yeah.
There is a certain way they want you to dress. Some people have preference in terms of, okay, for example, another example that I thought about was if your spouse to be is coming to your family, give them some clues how people behave. Tell them about this person. Oh, this person can say something that will put you off. Don't get angry. My dad can be like this. My mom can,
There's a
lapse
special
into
seat
mood.
for that.
There is a special seat for that. Don't sit there, whatever you do. Because some of these things are very subtle, and people just think, oh, it's not just a chair. It might be a chair, but it may be symbolic to something. It may just be a seat that represent maybe the person of the authority in the family, and then you just sit there, and the person will be like, even the person will not know why they are refusing you. But it may just be something quite insignificant.
Yeah, okay. That's very big.
All right, so and then have your eyes on the end goal. Now, why is this important? I found out that anytime most people, let me just say, most people when they decide to get married, there are different obstacles that often come their way. All right, I experienced it. I'm sure you experienced it as well. Everybody experienced it in different ways, in different shades and different sizes, and sizes. All right, for some people, you may just have some people that are just particularly obstructive to you trying to get married. They will be saying things about you, castigating you, or coming up with all kind of stories that are unfounded. Now, all these are supposed to distract you, but you must understand that no matter what you are going through, it's nothing compared to the possible challenges that you may experience in marriage that both of you go to conquer together. So see this as a learning ground for you to be able to develop your competencies, ability to manage, because marriage is real life. You're going to come up with challenges, financial challenges. How are you going to handle them? Are you just going to abandon and just walk away? You're going to have different challenges to come. For example, we had to wait for almost 8 years before we had our first child. So how did we handle that? That would be a topic for another day. All right. So there are different challenges that will come your way. So all this issue of people not liking you, those are minor issues. They are just grooming you to develop maturity that is required in marriage. So the key thing there is keep your eyes on the end goal. Your end goal is I love this person. I like to settle down with this person. I like to build a life with this person. That's what your goal should be. So that will help you to be, to overlook any of the obstacles that come your way.
Okay, and the next one is understand the key opinion leaders. Okay, there are people who are forces in some families, and their opinions matter. You just have to understand these people, understand what they like, what is it they are really looking for, what are they interested in. Sometimes we talk about this. I kind of feel somehow about it because I begin to ask myself, are we trying to make people warm their way into the hearts of people? But the truth is that it's like an interview.
Absolutely.
Okay, every interviewer has his or her standards, and you need to meet these standards. It's not, we're not saying you coy your way into their hearts, but you be you. But then you need to understand these people in order to know how to relate with them.
We need to understand one thing when we are in this situation, is that the question they have in your mind is, are you the right person for this woman? Are you the right person for this man? Your job is to present yourself as the right person. How do you do that? You look at the qualities they're looking for, and then you present yourself. So, for example, any parent or anyone who has been able to raise a daughter or raise a son wants them to be happy. Are you the kind of person that will make their daughter happy? Or are you the kind of person that will be causing all kind of family trouble that everybody, because anytime there is a family issue, families will have to, so if their daughter have a problem in her marriage,
they all will have to
everybody will have to get involved. So no one wants to be having to manage these kind of issues when they are supposed to be in retirement, enjoying their later years. All right. So those are the concerns, and that leads us to the next question: mitigating their fears.
Yes, when you have done all these, you'll be mitigating their fears.
Absolutely.
Their concerns.
Every family has a specific concern. So I have trained this lady. I've sent her to school, secondary school, university. She's done masters abroad. The family has invested a lot of resources into this person. Now, you are coming into the picture. They have fears. Are you going to ruin everything they have built, all the legacy, all the training? Are you going to? Some people have gotten married and through domestic violence lost their lives. All the investment was wasted just in a day. So how about that? If I am a parent, and someone is coming to marry my child, I'm going to be concerned. I want to find out, are you the right person? Are you worthy of the investment I've made in this person? Because what you're doing from the moment you say, yes, I do, you've been given the responsibility to carry on with what I've done up to that point. Are you the right person to carry on my legacy? Are you the right person? Because we believe as a couple is that your people's life should be better in marriage than it was when they were single. So are you that person who's going to be able to do that? Okay.
And in navigating difficult families, I think the best disposition you can have is just to remind yourself that these people just have the best intentions.
Absolutely.
That might help.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So who should call the intruder to order?
Well, I always say the person who is involved. You talk to your family.
Absolutely.
Let's put that simple.
So in a relationship like this, you will talk to your family.
You deal with your family.
I will deal with mine.
Yes, it's not for the potential spouse.
Why are we recommending that?
You understand the dynamics in your family. So why put this person in an odd situation?
Absolutely. And there are mistakes that you will make and you'll be forgiven easily.
Yes.
That if I make, it's going to create a huge explosion.
Yes.
So the best thing is you deal with your family, I deal with mine, because I know, like she said, I know the dynamics in my family. I know what to say to this specific person. I know the right buttons to press for this person. I know how to talk to this person to win them over on any specific issue.
So that's us dealing with the last point. Okay, your spouse deals with his or her family, not you.
Yes.
Okay, and then you need to consult with respected members of the family.
Yeah, maybe your grandparents, maybe a clergy person, somebody that whoever is the intruder will listen to. Now, an intruder in some families is maybe like a big uncle, a big auntie that seems to be like the sponsor of the family, that seems to be supporting the family, and so people can't really stand up to them. Their opinion really matter, and even people's even the intended couple's parents can't really say much. I've been in some what do you call it now? Marriage ceremonies where, well, what we call traditional marriage ceremonies, where an uncle kind of wielded a lot of influence over the child of his own siblings, and it was very amazing. So different cultures have different dynamics. You need to understand the culture you are marrying into. If you don't understand the cultures you're marrying into, you're going to be taking a lot of missteps.
Yes.
And we have a lot of examples all around the globe. All right.
Saying that, you touched on something very big. You tried to classify intruders, uncles. I don't think it is right to consider your parents or his or her parents as intruders.
I agree.
Remember the definition we gave at the start. It's someone intervening in a situation uninvited or without necessity. In this case, come on, a parent should be a necessity.
Absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely.
Okay. I understand that some parents take it to the extreme, some are unreasonable. Okay. But to a reasonable extent.
Absolutely.
We need to give them that chance.
Yeah. And the next point we'd like to look at is review your own conviction. Now, why is this important? Before people intrude into your relationship, there are something that they observe. Now, let me see. If when people find you, this has been proven, and we have researched it and we found this out as well while we were doing our counseling and all the kind of people that we work with. If your spouse, if the parent, or no, not parents now, if a potential intruder sees you and your spouse to be arguing, disagreeing publicly, all of you, it gives them a foothold into your relationship. That's one point.
That's right.
Second point is this. If they're asking you a question about this person that you want to marry and you don't have information, they're asking you very important information. Have you investigated into the family? What do you know about the family background? Do they have certain illnesses in the family? Do they have some genetic condition in family? What does he do for a living? What does the parent do? How many siblings? And you can answer some very important questions. It shows you've not done your homework. You've not been thorough in your homework. You give them permission, unspoken permission, what we call unintended consequence of your action, is that they begin to intrude.
They want to step in to help.
They want to step into help in quotes, and sometimes they hijack the steering wheel from you.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And that's one thing that we found out.
Okay. So another thing we think you need to do is allow time.
Absolutely.
Do not elope. We've seen cases where people leave the country of their residence, move on to another country, get married civilly, and carry on with their lives. But like we said earlier, just to emphasize the importance of parental blessings. Okay, it's just important that your parents give their blessings.
Absolutely.
In a case like this, and that's why we said, if it's not working, if they are not budging, find a respectable member of the family or someone they respect, someone they can listen to. Okay, we've had cases where there's a scenario I think I should just throw in at this point. You've the case of someone who decided to marry someone from a matrilineal system of inheritance. Ideally, most societies would go with the patrilineal system of inheritance. So when she came home, this young lady, and talked about this, her parents revolted. No, you can't. Because what that means is that there's no inheritance for your children. Because you're going into this family. Inheritance goes through the woman, but you are a stranger in this community. So and you're coming from.
So what you're saying is that her children cannot inherit what the husband has produced or left.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay, so her parents did not want that to happen. Okay, but they allowed time, and what this young man had to do was to put their heart to rest. He decided to make some investments in her name. And on that basis, her parents decided, oh, okay, there's something for our grandchildren. You might think, come on, what's that? I'm not even, but they considered it was a big thing for them.
Absolutely. Now, we need to quickly point out this, that the fact that something does not make sense to you does not mean it should be dismissed.
Yes.
But if it's something that your the family you're going into count as important, you must take it important. You must make it, you must prioritize
even when
it.
it doesn't make sense.
Even when it doesn't make sense to you, because a lot of cultural stuff, a lot of beliefs, a lot of traditions do not make sense to the new generation. So, but you have to respect that. Otherwise, you're going to be shutting the door quite early in the process. Okay. All right. So, one key thing that I wanted to point out is this. It is important for you to understand that your parents have your best interest at heart most times. It's important to know that most intruders have your best interest at heart. But you must be able to create necessary boundary. You must be able to be proactive in terms of researching about the person you want to marry. You must be proactive about doing your own background checks. You must be proactive about understanding who, how to manage an intruder that is, overstepping their brand, what do you call it, their boundaries. You must be able to create a boundary. You must be able to present your spouse in a good light. There are specific things you must do. If you don't do these things, the intruder will gain more power by the day. So you have to do your own, your own, what do you call it now, homework. Now we have a coaching, we have a course that we are coming up with. All right. So are you in a situation right now where you notice that your wedding has been put on hold or postponed? All right. And when that happens, maybe for any reason, maybe because of the COVID-19, the pandemic that is happening, or for any reason like that, there are different things. There are different questions that people may be asking. You may be asking, will my fiance develop cold feet? Because we've seen people who, on the day of the wedding, they started having doubts.
It's even possible that right now things are shaking.
Absolutely. So what can you do to ensure that rather than them having doubt or you having doubt, both of you work on your relationship and take it to the next level? So that by the time everything goes to normal, you will have what it takes to be able to, walk down the aisle. Okay. The next question is, will I have the wedding of my dream? Now you've taken time to fantasize. This is how you've done all the necessary things you're supposed to do. But is that wedding going to be, is it going to be, are you going to have the wedding of your dreams? Or are you going to have the marriage of your dream? All right. Is it what you envision? Can I build a life with this person? One of the ways to find out is this: what do they believe about money? All right. Do they think that you should bring money together? What is their belief system? How do they want to handle money? Have you discussed about sex? How are you going to walk around sex? How often is it going to happen? What are their beliefs? Sometimes people force their spouses to indulge in sexual acts that impact on their health. What are these expectations? One of the things that causes conflict in relationship or in marriage is that there are uncommunicated expectations. There are unrealistic expectations. And sometimes people just expect their spouses to be just to understand. They just like what they call it now, like being psychic. But it doesn't happen like that. So there are 8 different steps, 8 different issues that we want to look at. What are the preferences of your spouse? What are their personality? What is their love language? There are different things that we're going to look at. How do they communicate? What are the conflict issues? All right. How do you want to manage and navigate conflict? What type of conflict are you going to what are the potential flashpoints and how are you going to handle this? All this will be addressed in the course.
Okay, so to enroll, please send an email
Yes.
to info@foundationforfamilyaffairs.org. Info@foundationforfamilyaffairs.org. Okay, let us know. Please write us. Let's know how this has been of value to you.
Absolutely. We thank you for spending time to watch this.
Okay, so until we come your way again,
Goodbye.
have a good time.